Well, Russia's war in Ukraine has at times been marked by shortages in basic equipment on both sides. That often means soldiers have to resort to using whatever materials are available to them. One result of this has been the weaponization of civilian drones by Ukrainian soldiers. Sarah Larniuk is in Kharkiv, Ukraine, with more now. So, Sarah, what are you hearing from the Ukrainian military about the role these drones are playing in the war?
So that we know that these drones have been used for military use by the Ukrainians since the beginning of this war, really, both for reconnaissance so that they could find out where Russian troops were, but also, in a bit of a more offensive way, they could strap small munitions to those drones and then drop them in foxholes, for example. But what we're hearing now from the Ukrainian military is that increasingly, even though the Ukrainians pioneered this technology to be used in this way, it's now being used by the Russians against the Ukrainians. I spoke with a commander with the 125th Brigade this week. His name was Olis. He spoke to me from the trenches near Bakhmut, and he told me a story about how this week they were attacked by a tank, and then one of their soldiers, a 19-year-old man, died in that attack. And when they went to retrieve his body, it was followed up with a drone attack. And he sent me that photo of that drone, and it says on it, "Glory to Russia." So there is this plea from the Ukrainians to, have these sale of these drones blocked to the Russian military. But of course, DJI is the company that sells the majority of the drones that are being used on the front lines. It's a Chinese company, and they actually stopped selling products both in Ukraine and in Russia back in April. But yet they're still finding a way to make it to the front line. A Russian general actually already last fall praised DJI for, despite being a civilian company, being the new frontier for warfare in this modern age. And now they're seeing more and more of those drones used by the Russians.
But Sarah, these drones aren't the only civilian technology that's being used and posing problems.
Yes, so Starlink has also been one of those savior technologies to the Ukrainian military in this war. Those are those frontline units that use satellites so that they can enable communications for Ukrainian soldiers on those front lines where communications have been knocked out. But Starlink, owned by SpaceX, has now been disabled for use of those drones on those front lines. SpaceX CEO saying this week that this product was never meant to be militarized. And so it is this odd situation where civilian companies are now faced with being critical technology used on the front lines of this war, something that they never signed up for.
Okay, Sarah, thank you for this. Sarah Larniuk for us in Kharkiv, Ukraine.